somebody else. We'll see. I'm waiting for you, though. I mean, I'm holding out. I expect you to be within, the list real soon. Hold on. Sure, I could have taken care of all this little housekeeping stuff before I started the camera, but you know how that goes. I know you know how that goes because you stream. All right, guys, we're going to look at birds openings, but we're going to look at them in this book I really like, 1,000 Best Short Games, 1,000 Best Short Games of Chess. All right, and it's, mi hermano is on mi teléfono. Hola, mi hermano. I am streaming. I just started. Oh, 8 o'clock every Wednesday. Sorry, I thought you were in the know. All right, talk to you later. Bye. All right, so there's my brother calling me. Doesn't know when I'm streaming. Oh yeah, one room, right? That's what happens when you're in college. Totally understand, mi amigo. All right, so the 1,000 Best Short Games. This one we're going to look at today. And the reason I like it is it's organized in the back by openings. So if you, if you can find your openings. But it also has an index of players and some really good players. There he is. There is my brother. Hey, Cy. Hope you still, did you finish streaming, Cy, or are you still at it? Appreciate the lurk either way. So let's give a shout out to Ratchet. You know what? I think Ratchet has graduated to a shout out F. Yes, I think he did. And we'll give a shout out to Cy. And Irving doesn't, LLMP does not stream, so I don't have to give him a shout out. So this book, by the way, is by Irving Chernev. Old school now. We're going old school. And I want to show you one of the ways that you can enjoy looking at books and looking at classic games and at Masters. Now, I will tell you this game was played at night odds. So this knight isn't actually on the board for this game. I'm leaving it here because it doesn't affect anything if we leave it on the board. He never moved the rook over and didn't do it. All right? So, yes, you graduated, Ratchet. You've proven yourself to be a good streamer and clean. You know, if you could be a good streamer, but, a little bit filthy mouth. So I can't say that, I can't tell all my students, go there and watch them. But if you're clean and you're good, which you are, my friend, you fit right in. So we're going to look at an opening that's near and dear to my heart, the Birds opening. Now, one of the weird things, oh yeah, a lot of Irvings out there, and even spelled with an E, Irving Magic Johnson. But anyway, one of the things that I find interesting with the new norm that we're in, where all these people have access to all your games and they see what you play online, is they can go out and scout you, right? My opponent in my last 30 plus 30 game said he had prepped for me to play this. I didn't play this, but he thought I would because I played so many games. 80% of my games are Birds. And he was like, he came up with, and I kind of feel kind of disappointed because I want to see what he had in store. So one of the things about knowing your opening really well, you don't care if your opponent has come up with some trappy line to play against you, because you should know how to play against those trappy lines because you truly study that opening beginning to end. You truly know your opening. So I kind of am disappointed. I should have played the Birds, but I was working on a different opening because I'm thinking to get up to National Master, I need to not play the Birds as much, and I need to play something solid. So I was playing the King's Indian Attack. But I plan on playing the Birds, guys. I love my Birds. Okay? I don't know, Ratchet. I have no idea about your personal life. Okay? Hey, Chess Wizard, welcome to the house. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. Julius Irving, yes. You know that's my favorite basketball player of all time. So, yes. Yes. All right, MVL gets into trouble all the time in his openings. Well, there you go. All right, but does he get in trouble because other people throw surprises at him and he doesn't know his opening well enough? Bada bing, bada boom. All right, Pawn the King, Bishop 4. By the way, this book, this edition of this book, is old enough that the text, woohoo, is in English, Old English notation. So it actually says Pawn the King, Bishop 4, Pawn the Queen 4. And by the way, this is the notation every book had when I grew up. When I was playing chess, when I learned how to play chess, all the way up to 16, I think it was probably around 18, 17, 18, they came out with algebraic, or 19, I don't remember. But I remember, I ain't doing that stupid stuff. What's that? What? I don't understand this algebraic thing. What? You're going to write letters and numbers on the board? Come on, I got a beautiful wooden board. Why are you going to... I mean, it was like Marvel and DC. People were like, a lot of people did not want to convert to algebraic. I'm just saying, nobody, not nobody. A lot of people did not want to convert to algebraic, and I was one of those traditionalists, and it took me a long time. But then it's kind of like you have to, because every new book is now written in algebraic, and of course the computer uses algebraic. I believe some computers you could tell it to show the score, and the score is the moves written down, to show the score in Old English. I think you can tell it that you want to see it that way. But yeah, now it's a novelty. Pawn the Queen, Bishop 4. But this book is old, and I love old books, by the way. So besides us looking at specific games, like another book we're going to review is Bobby Fischer's the complete set of Bobby Fischer's games, right? We're going to look at a bunch of his games, but look at the book to talk about how the book helps you. So one thing about opening books, though, I have some very old opening books. So where people think they're coming up with novelties, I know there's a woman, FIDE Master, that says she came up with her own novelty and no one's ever played this, she believes. I got to check my old opening books, because a lot of times these already been played, they've already been named, but then they've fallen out of vogue. People don't play that line anymore because they believe the other lines they play are better, and so then people forget them. And so that's one of the benefits of also having that old book, because I might find a line in the opening that, yes, it's not the best line, but you're not going to find it, right? People aren't going to know that line by looking up the opening. Now, the oddity, though, or the thing about today in our new normal is people will go grab the computer and find out what the best move is, regardless. They'll find the best move via the computer, regardless of if they have an opening book that shows that line. So once you've sprung your surprise, the next time out, they're going to just go look it up on the computer and see what the computer says. Now, you know as well as I do, the beauty of that is, yeah, the computer might tell them the best move. They'll make that best move next time, but then you make a move that the computer does not anticipate, and they have no clue what you're going to do. So then they're on their own again anyway. So they might make that first move might be the best move, but they can't tell what you're going to do in response to that best move, so they're still on their own. So chess is still rich. I don't think we have to worry too much yet about them ruining chess. Pawn the King 3, but it does make it a lot harder to play surprise chess, right? You might think that. Less people understand or use computers as much as you think they would. All right, so our POT of the week, by our POT of the week, right? The P stands for P. It's part of the week. It's principle of the week is develop, develop, develop. And remember, this white knight isn't even there, guys. So we'll just circle it in red. In real life, he gave away that knight. He started the knight down. But again, it won't matter to the game. Knight to King, Bishop 3. White plays knight to Bishop 3. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, it can't be. So all it says in here is knight to Bishop 3 instead of King, Bishop 3. But it couldn't be Queen, Bishop 3 because he didn't have that knight on the board. So that's why even in the notation, it was like, we don't need that. So all these moves so far look quite reasonable. And here's one I like. I've seen this in the birds a lot. This pawn a lot of times get pushed, and then we can trade. And meantime, that bishop is eyeing here. I actually played a game recently with the bishop here. They brought their knight out, attacked my bishop, and I just slid it back. I might show you that one. That was a good game. I did get to play a couple of birds recently. But anyway, bishop to queen 3, castle, and they in the book he jokingly says, this guy a knight's odds player. I mean, he's playing fine, right? He's developed. He's got a nice center. He's attacking all these squares with his pawns. His knight is here. His bishop is ready. He's castled early. Usually knight's odds players like do things like push these pawns for no reason. But no, this guy's playing pretty good so far. All right, but we get right away into an attack, guys. So yes, there's 2 attacking it, but there's the knight holding it. But you're threatening to take the knight. Bishop might take back, and then you can win a pawn, remembering that the bishop would be back hitting your rook. But anyway, knight to knight 5. Pawn to knight 3. Says, no, get out of town. We're going to make this bite on stuff. It's never going to move. And at least that's his idea. But we know that moving any of these pawns weakens, even this one to chase him away, would be weakening the king's position. The best way for this king to be safe is to have 3 unmoved pawns until the very last second when you have to move one of them to protect the king, and a minor piece hanging around. All right, so this is not an unmoved pawn anymore. It's a moved pawn. Pawns can't go backwards. So we want to always be extremely careful when we push a pawn. Oh yeah, just ignore it, my friend. Just ignore it. Just ignore that knight odds. It's not there. Anyway, castle, knight to knight 5, pawn to king knight 3, pawn to king rook 4. Now, you guys might say, whoa, he's pushing Harry, right? We've heard that from our good friend Simon Williams. Not a good friend, but I like the Ginger GM. He calls it Harry, the H pawn. And what's interesting here is that we think today that this is a new move. That they've only been doing this for like the last couple of years. That they never would push this pawn in the past. Anybody want to guess what year this game was from? I'll give you a hint that isn't much of a hint, but it's Cook versus an amateur. I should look up Cook to find out his first name for you guys, because it's not even telling you. It just says Cook. You gotta like, even in the book it doesn't give first names. I guess they just went by the last names if you were a grand master or master at the time. Don't believe they even had grand masters. But they were masters. They didn't really have titles that they earned. So, what year do you guys think this was? Yeah, because there's your pushing Harry, and this is not last year. I will tell you that. Remember, it's an it's an Old English notation. So it's back in the day, right? It's got to be, I was in 1970s, early 70s, they still had English notation. So that might give you a hint, or maybe not. Anyway, pawn to king rook 4, and we get knight to rook 4. So that looks reasonable, doesn't it? Blocks the pawn, can't push it again. Freeing the bishop to attack the knight. I mean, this looks reasonable. And at this point, White announced a forced mate in 4 moves. There's a forced mate right now in 4 moves. 1850, you did go too old, Ratchet. That's too old. Yeah, that was too old. So this is a mate in 4. Nope, not knight takes h7. Nope, not knight takes h7. He's got a forced mate in 4 moves. 4 moves. 1920. Yeah, now you're a little too new. You went too old, now you're too young. So somewhere in between. You're doing pretty well, though. I'll give you one more because you got very close. Yeah. It is 1906. 1906. You like queen takes h5? 1906. What do you think happens after queen takes h5? Because, we might as well think ahead, right? And make sure we see the mate. There you go. Captain James Cook. I don't know. Uh, Died in 1709? No. 1779? It would not be Captain James Cook. And this guy would have had to live over 200 years. Yeah, no. Well, close to 200 years. No, the game was played in 1906. Queen takes h5, they resign. No, he demonstrated the four-move mate. So, well, you got to see the whole mate. So if the queen takes, he's threatening mate here. If the rook moves, he still takes check. He moves here, and it's mate. So that would be 1, 2, 3. So it's okay to say that you have a mate in 4 with best play. With best play. All right. All right. So you see the queen takes here. What does black do to try to stop the mate? What does black do to try to stop the mate? Moving the rook is a mate in 3. And if bishop takes knight, yeah, that's the analysis. Queen takes, and then he said, yep, bishop takes. Any guesses? I mean, is it? What is it? What's the next move? Yeah, what happens after bishop takes g5? Because Cook announced this. He said mate in 4. Game's over. You can resign, my friend. It's mate in 4. With best play. With worst play, it'll be less, right? It'll be faster than mate in 4. So what's the mate in 4? We see queen takes. There you go. Ratchet, you're the man. Yes. Queen takes pawn. King has to take queen. That is forced. Then it should be simple, right? Yes, tactics. H takes G check. King has to move back to the same square. Rook to H8. Okay, everybody see that in their heads. We want to learn to visualize. So queen takes. He really doesn't, I mean, he can't let you take this pawn. He can't move this pawn, it's mate. He can't move the rook, it's check and then mate, right? So taking here, what else does he have? What else does he have? He could take here. Bishop takes pawn. Mate. He could take your queen, bishop takes pawn, mate. So then the only other choice is bishop takes, and here we don't take with the pawn, hoping to take here. We actually have our queen, sacks the queen, forcing the king to take back, no choice. Pawn takes back, check, discover check, discover check. He has nothing he could put in front of it. He has to actually move back, and then the rook gets the mate with the combo. How's that? That is gorgeous. So now we'll just put it on the board, so we can go over what actually happened. Oh, by the way, yeah, he can't even drop the bishop. Never mind. He has no choice, and we have a mate. So that's a miniature. That's our first bird's miniature. We can go check another one. By the way, if you're curious, not all of the miniatures with birds openings ended up good for white. I have miniatures where black won. Now, that might be worth looking at to make sure we don't make the same mistakes and fall into a brilliancy like that. Yeah, but it's not fun, right? We want to look at chapters where, where somebody won with the opening in swashbuckling fashion. We are not excited about looking at losses for an opening that you're hoping to play. But again, it would be beneficial just to make sure that you see what could happen to you, right? I mean, it's important to be ready and be prepared and be able to win those games. Let's see, it should be 293. Yeah, 1,000 games. I mean, I got my money's worth on this book a long time ago. All right, 293. Let's check out one more. And this one is Bird himself. Bird himself. And this, not an amateur at all, actually. although I cannot pronounce the guy's name. 1873, played in Vienna. What a beautiful place to play chess. Yes, openings were named like the Vienna and Vienna Gambit and Vienna Game were not named after somebody named Vienna. They were named because they became popular, or at least it was used primarily in a tournament that was held in Vienna, so they called it the Vienna. What a great name, right? What a great way to get a name for an opening is to play it at a special tournament there. Now, as a Birds player, I see this quite often. This does happen. So let's see what happens the way he plays it. And he plays it like a Franz Gambit in reverse, right? And he plays the Franz Gambit all the way. And I've done this before. I've played it as white, but then I just get stuck, right? Because the counterplay of this pawn, because this pawn is not normally here when you do the Franz going this way, right? When you go do the Franz going that way, this pawn isn't, there is no black pawn here in the way. That black pawn would have been back here, and it's easier for black to get a counterattack, which right now, it's a little harder for white to keep going because of this, but he has already sacked the pawn. Pawn to queen 3, releasing the bishop. Pawn takes, oh wait, sorry. I already did all those. Sorry, my bad. Let's see, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn. Okay, it's knight to king, bishop 3. In case you don't know, you can promote that variation and you could delete the other variation very easily in Lichess. Just right click and tell it what you want to do. So knight to king, bishop 3, knight to king, bishop 3, pawn to king 3. Releasing the nice bishop, right? Looks good, looks normal, can get a lot of attacks, frees the bishop. All right, so pawn to king 3, knight to knight 5. How's that? Knight to knight 5. Yeah, he's attacking it, but it's protected twice. So what is he? What is that? Right? What is that? Knight to knight 5. Knight to king bishop. Knight to pawn to king 3. Just want to make sure I didn't mess up. Knight to knight 5 on move 6. Yes, sir. Pawn to king knight 3. Now, overreacting maybe to this diagonal and the bishop. Maybe overreacting. Yeah. So the threat may have been to take and then follow up with the bishop, right? And if you take with the rook, you might take with the bishop and then come in with your queen and still win back the rook. So in other words, if you don't do anything and you ignore it and you move this knight out, white could take. If the knight takes, you could take back. Actually, you don't have to take back with the bishop. You can come here with the queen with check. And the king, if the king moves, you win the knight back. But you also have a king that's on the run. Not a happy sight. If you take with the rook, then you could take with the bishop, or even come here first. But you could still take with the bishop, and the knight takes back, and then the queen still comes here and wins it back. So you still end up the piece back, right? And you won some pawns. So pawn to king knight 3. And guess what, guys? Yeah, the type of move that we just said that I've said it. This is modern, right? That masters did not play this way back in the day. They would never move their rook. There you go. Yeah, shows how much I know. Bishop to rook 3, wanting to get rid of the knight. Pawn to rook 5, saying, I don't care if you want to get rid of my knight. Go ahead. Bishop takes knight. By the way, it does tell you that if knight takes pawn, anybody? Anybody? What do you think? What would you do if black did knight takes pawn? Yeah, just bad. There you go, ratchet. There's my ratchet. Yes, rook takes knight. Right, we have a check. The bishop's going to fall. Yeah, it's like we're coming in. Thank you very much. We'll give up that rook for the knight because we're going to get back another piece for it. It's not really a sacrifice. So bishop takes knight. Yeah, okay. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, threatening the knight. And it's like, where do you want the knight to go? That's where we're at right now. Where do we put the knight? So knight went to queen 4. You guys can tell me if you think that was just a blunder. Pawn takes pawn. Of course, pawn can't take back because lose the rook. Pawn takes pawn. Queen to king 2. Says, well, I'll protect. I'll stop the pawn from pushing. Okay. Queen to king 2. Does. Okay. Queen to king 2. Rook takes pawn, guys. Right? Because we have 3 on the pawn. So we had 3 on the pawn. Rook takes rook. Pawn takes rook. And queen to knight 5 check. And this actually reminds me of a game I played also where I was in check, and if I were to block, there was another thing going on here. I'll show you in a minute. But if I were to block, I'd end up losing a tempo. So to save the tempo, I just slid my king away. Now, I don't remember if that's what happens in this game, but queen to knight, yes. So again, not to lose the tempo with a follow-on check, right? We don't even want to do this because then he can slide over here and say check. And then he's going to be protecting this this back square. So that's one option, right? So we don't even want to give him a tempo gain with a check to get here. Now, he could just go there, but we're not going to give him the tempo along with it. And pushing the pawn gives him the check tempo. Yeah, anyway. So king to bishop 1, queen to king rook 5, stopping the dangerous pawn. Bishop to knight 6 check. King to king 2. So what would you guys do if he did king to bishop 1? It's probably not too hard to find it, right? Just check. You're coming in. That's a juicy, juicy square. Yes, yes. So instead he goes here. And what is our final move here to win the game? What is the winning move here, guys? What do we want to do here? Okay, I'll confess, this still looks good, but it's not as good. It still looks good, but what's the problem with this? I see checks. I don't know if anything else goes on. I see checks. I see checks where I don't know if he could run me around. I don't know how much he's going to get to run me around. Queen to h5. Ding, 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 ding. Ratchet, you are not only our first chatter today, but you also have all the right answers today. Queen to d4, Irv. Nice try. Nice try. Nope, this is the move. Our intrepid bird, the man that opening was named after, came up with. And you can't stop the pawn from queening. This check doesn't work. This check does, but I would imagine the bishop just comes back and you're done with that check. You can't check here, and you can't check here. So yeah, you get one check before we chase you away, and we still get the queen. Bada bing, bada boom. If you take the queen, of course, the bishop takes back, and we queen next move. Beautiful game. 3 passed pawns in the middle game. Beautiful game. And I like them, right, because they're miniatures. We don't have to spend a lot of time. And we can see most of these you're finding where the players find some dynamic, some crushing attack with sacrifices and just, it's just beautiful play. So you know this is one that you can go back and you can say, let me study how this happened. Because this seems like a normal move. That seems like a normal move. This is where it gets abnormal. But boy, oh boy, if you get anybody that does this, or if they do some other move that still allows this, right? So it could be this move. I have not checked, but this move might allow it also with all the dynamics we're talking about. Knight to here. Why not? Right? That could still work. Now, he might be able to bring this over, but who knows? I'd have to look at it a whole lot deeper. But yeah, I like this move. I like this move. All right, let's do one more. I'm going to do all of them. I'm going to take all of the wins, and you might ask me how many wins are there in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wins, miniatures by Classics, Masters. 6 wins with the birds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses with the birds. 6 and 6. Now we do have the Larson opening, which I believe is transposes into the birds. So we might have to look at that later. But yeah, let's look at one more together. Unless you guys are really enjoying it, we can do more. But this one is Daly versus Mengarini. All right. And this was back in 1937. Not too old. Not too long ago. Yeah, not too long ago. Let's see what happened here. We know how it starts. Pawn to king, bishop 4. Pawn to queen 4. I see this all the time. Pawn to king 3. Knight to king, bishop 3. See this basically. I saw it today. I got to play a couple of games today. Pawn to king, knight 3. I actually played Sudakus. Had a nice little tournament, and I got to play in it 3 rounds before I had to go into a meeting. So I was able to do it while I was working. And it was 3 plus 4, I think, or 4 plus. Anyway, it was casual. But I got to play some birds the few times I got to play it. So anyway, where were we? Pawn to king 3, knight to king, bishop 3. Knight to king, bishop 3. Pawn to king, knight 3. Last move played. Pawn to queen, knight 3. Totally how I play the birds. The same way it's been. That's what theory says, right? Take these. Put that bishop outside of your pawn chain. Basic chess still, but yeah, pawn to king, knight 3, bishop to knight 2, and this happens a lot early in games to me because my opponent wants to, right, combat my fianchetto with his own fianchetto. This happens a lot. Bishop to knight 2 for white, queen's knight to queen 2. I don't know if I see that often. Actually, I do because they want to push this pawn still. So that's one defender. They think they move this knight, and they have another one, and they have the bishop. So they're thinking they want to push this pawn. I see this a lot. I also see c5 a lot. But let's see what happens in their game. Queen to knight to king 2. Pawn to bishop 4. All right, now I usually don't play this. But this would give me reason to analyze a different idea about playing this, right? Especially playing against the fianchetto. Maybe I want to do this more. So I'll have to see. But this is what helps you decide how you want to play the game. Obviously, you can't push here, just lose it. I think I would have probably done this before I pushed the king pawn because I figure he still wants to get it here eventually. But, hey, what can I say? This guy played this way. So anyway, pawn to king 3. It's like, who are these guys that the masters used to beat up on all the time, right? Yeah, Ratchet, I don't know about the name, but, I mean, Morphy beat a whole bunch of guys before he went overseas and played the best over there for a while. Who are these guys they beat? You never hear about them anymore, right? It's kind of like we lose to Magnus Carlsen or something, and it's a beautiful win for him, but you're an amateur, right? So it might become one of these in a book like this, but that's about it. Anyway, pawn to king 3, queen to pawn to king 3, queen to bishop 2. All right, this also happens many times when I play the birds. This is normal. Pawn to bishop 4. All right, he gets it in anyway. Maybe that's why he didn't push it 1 because, he wants to get more of a classical setup. Again, this is a classical setup. Very classical. Yeah, they are irrelevant, aren't they? Because they were never like the geniuses. But actually, Daly, I don't know that he was either. But anyway, queen to bishop 2. Sorry, pawn to bishop 4. We have knight to bishop 3. What? Oh, white. Okay, and it seems odd. He's blocking his beautiful diagonal, but he wants to get his knight developed. Okay, we like development. In fact, the POT, right, the of the week is develop, 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 guys. And he's racing and getting a. This bishop is going to have a long time getting developed. This one could be out any second. All right. So anyway, knight to bishop 3, castle. Says let's get into safety. And guess what, guys? I know this is the 3rd game in a row. Now I will tell you, I've played the birds a lot. I play a lot of birds. I don't remember using this move half as much as I'm seeing in all of these. This is amazing. So again, you learn from games, right? You can learn from others' games versus the computer, because the computer, I don't know, if we turn it on, we should analyze these and see if the computer says that's a good move or not. You know, that would be fun to see if that's a good move per the computer. Because who cares, right? This is exciting fun. You know, it's, hey, play for it, man. Come on, let's have some fun and see if we can tear our opponent apart. But here we are with another H-pawn move. Just amazing to me. Okay, pawn takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn. And we get queen to king 2, ignoring the pawn. Now, I think nowadays, we would probably almost automatically see this pawn push here. I really do. I think that would be almost automatic. I kind of like the knight being able to hop in here. And I know we all think, well, we got to stop this pawn. We don't know if it's going to have any good life, but we want to stop the pawn. So yeah, H5 is almost an automatic move nowadays. But you got to remember, back then, H4, nobody was playing probably H4 too often. So they probably said like, oh yeah, go ahead, push. What do I care? But wow, you know, they don't want to weaken their king side more. And this could get very interesting even with that pawn push. I'd be interested to see what happens, or how we would carry out the attack. And maybe it's knight to here and then pawn here. I don't know. Maybe it's queenside castling for sure and then moving on. I don't know, because it didn't happen. Anyway, pawn to king, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, queen to king 2. We do get the pawn the rook 5 push. And he says, that's fine, my knight protects the bishop. You're not even attacking my bishop. He thinks he's good to go. So knight takes pawn. And I'm not even going to ask you, because you know you guys are going to guess correctly. It's got to be, right? It's got to be time. Rook takes knight. Pawn takes rook. Knight to knight 5. Threatening mate again. We've opened up the king. We've opened up the diagonal. We've got to be going for mate, right? So black parries it by knight to bishop 3. Protects the pawn. Says, no mates here, my friend. No mates here. Now we might need to look at, you know, could he have survived this way and leave that knight looking so pretty for who knows how long? But then no, because, you know, well, he could still, but this pawn falls, right? This pawn falls. And who knows where we go to after that. That's going to be nice. All right. But anyway, we get here. And we get the knight to protect. Seems reasonable. And so what do we need to do? We need to get rid of this knight, guys. Yeah, can we? Because we need to get rid of this knight. And knight to d5 would attack the queen. Very good, Ratchet. See, you have an old soul. So, yeah, that would attack the knight. I mean, the queen. And yes, we're saying take us, please. Or take us if you like, because we're going to take the knight. So, 1, we have to uncover the attack on the knight. And 2, we're trying to remove the defender of the knight. Right? The queen is the defender of the knight. I'm sorry. I didn't say that right. It doesn't matter if the queen defends the knight. We don't care if the queen takes back. But we need a tempo. So if we were not attacking the queen and we just moved our knight elsewhere, like maybe even here, well, the knight move would actually block the queen. If we had went here, right? It's blocking the queen so he could take. So maybe let's say the knight went here. Well, yes, you're threatening to take here, but he would have to try to, and I don't know if he can. We'd have to look at it again. You know, if knight went here, how does he, yeah, you're threatening to take the knight, so how does he stop from getting mated on this account? Well, he could push here and threaten the pawn, but the knight, but you still take, right? And then you take here, it's still mate. How about if you move the rook out of the way? Let's try that, right? So the rook moves out of the way. You take, let's say, I don't know, let's take with the queen, just for argument's sake. Check, and you don't have a mate. No mate. No mate. Right? You have no mate. All right, so that's the problem. You have to keep, we want this rook to be here. We don't want, basically we don't want black. We don't want black to have any time. We can't give him a tempo. If we do this, we give him a free tempo. But by doing this move, we're attacking his queen. He can't do this, he can't do this, he'll lose his queen. He'll lose his queen. So it takes away the tempo, and this gives us the tempo. And now we attack the queen again. And again, he can't take the, if the queen wasn't here under attack, he could move his rook and try to get his king away, depending, right? Or he could just take back, right? Again, if he wasn't under attack, he could just move the rook or take, if he could do that. But he can't do it. All right, so that's the game, right? Pawn takes knight, bishop takes knight, and black resigns. Because he either loses the queen or he gets mated. And I don't even know how he's, he could go here, lose the queen, right? You got to remember that. This looks like it might work, but it doesn't. You still just lose the queen. So, how you like that one? Tempos are extremely important. It's extremely important. So that's game 360. We actually have 3 more games we could look at. It's early. Come on, we can look at 3 more games real quick. I mean, these are miniatures, right? They're defined as miniatures, so they're going to be quick. All right, let's look at this one. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This one is Samuel Reshevsky. You guys should have actually heard of Reshevsky. Even though you're young, if you've been following any of the recent history in chess, you know Morphy, you know Alekhine, you know Capablanca, right? You should know Samuel Reshevsky, guys. He would have been one of the best known players in the United States, and he still was, but he would have even been more well known if he wasn't playing at the same time Bobby Fischer came along. Yeah, Bobby Fischer just like stole his thunder, and nobody even thinks about, none of the lay people, I'll call them lay people, right? Hey, Sudakus, know about Samuel Reshevsky. They don't, right? Because unless you go back and read, and I did, or at least go watch a good movie, right? I think he had to be mentioned. In Searching for Bobby Fischer. And here's one of those guys that just get beat up all the time, Traub, right? All right, so we're going to look at another one real quick. But Samuel Reshevsky, major guy in the United States, multi-winner of the U.S. Open, U.S. champ title. And this is during a simultaneous exhibition. So he's playing more than one person. And they're not playing slouches, they're playing some pretty good players of the time. And by the way, another reason I like these is because I could see myself playing either side of this, right? I mean, these are not, even the people they're beating up on are like at my level, right? I mean, they're not below me for sure. Probably some of them are above me. So they're not slouches. Come on, this is something I can learn from by watching these guys. Pawn the Queen 4 doesn't play my beloved move here yet, but that's okay. His opponent played a French setup, right? Black is trying to force white into playing a French-centric game, a French feel to the opening, and white says, oh, no, I'm playing my birds, thank you very much. So pawn to king, knight 3, right? Keeping in with the birds. Now, one of the things I get into trouble with, which this one looks like it could be troublesome, is if your opponent plays queen to bishop 3, or in now parlance, queen to f6, you'd be attacking both of these. Now, usually, if this pawn is here and I get the queen here, I just transition into the stone wall reversed. I have pawns here and here. I just transpose in the stone wall reversed. I still put him here, but he also sometimes goes here. And later on, he might come back and realign. And this pawn may even get pushed. But that's how I play, right? I go here, the queen goes here. Like I said, you have to really know your openings, guys. I mean, you have to be comfortable, understand what you do in different situations. But right here, I think this could be very troublesome because this pawn is not protected and the rook is open. So let's see what happens. Pawn to king, knight 3, knight to king, bishop 3. His opponent did not take advantage of this opportunity. Bishop to knight 2, bishop to queen 3, and this is very normal, trying to get this pawn push in. Pawn to queen, bishop to queen 3, pawn to queen 4, and guess what? We get into almost, right, except this pawn isn't here yet, my stone wall setup. Pawn to queen 4, knight to bishop 3. No, I did not know these ahead of time. Knight to bishop 3, knight to king 5. I play that a ton in the birds. Play this all the time. Knight to king 5, knight to king 2. Doesn't want to trade, doesn't want to, can't of course take and get forked. Could have taken with the bishop, and then the knight has to run away. And he could have. I mean, he's got squares, guys. He could have went here, and that square is looking pretty juicy because, you know, can't just push, he just take you, and you don't want him to sit in there. So I'm surprised. I mean, I personally, if I was black, you know, you would take, and I'm threatening here. My queen is ready to come out. I don't know what, you know, maybe the move is here. Maybe the move is there. This check, you just push the pawn. But unfortunately, you know, what do you do with the moves like that? And you could come here and chase him away. This square is still so juicy. Anyway, that's not what happened. He moved the knight back. Knight to king 2, bishop to king 3. So one of the things I will tell you when you're doing this, I like to try to find, when these things happen, I try to find a way. Bishop to king 3, I have something wrong on the board. I cheated somewhere. This can't be bishop to king 3. So one of the things I was going to say that you want to do is you want to make sure that the game will, if you're going to use it as a game for your studies, for your opening, make sure it would transpose from some line that you might play. And again, it's nice to learn new moves in the opening, right? I'm definitely going to find this move more often. But other than that, you want to be careful that you don't think, oh, this is a great line. I can get a miniature, like just like I saw here. I don't have to remember that much. It's only like 10 moves. You have to be careful that it's not have flaws, right? Like this, to me, is a flaw. I don't like that. I don't know how white doesn't lose material. All right, anyway, so I have to go backwards because I messed something up. Pawn to king, bishop 4, pawn to king 3, knight to king, bishop 3, pawn to queen 4, pawn to king, knight 3. There you go. There you go. All right, that makes a lot more sense, actually, that after pawn to queen 4 was pawn to king, knight 3. I just assumed it was queen, knight 3. So, hey, thank you. TK, thank you for the host, as always, my friend. Thank you so much. We are going over a book. Today we're doing a little bit of a book review, 1,000 Best Short Games of Chess by Irving Chernev. And we're showing how you can use an opening to, or use it, these miniatures by masters of the day, way back in the day. It helps, we're looking at how you can learn from those masters by their games. Yes, a teacher, thinker, thinker, teacher, teacher, thinker, thinker, teacher. I'm the teacher, thinker. You're the thinker, teacher. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So we're talking about how you can use it to look at openings. So pawn to king knight 3. Now again, I don't usually play this variation of the birds. So this one, I might never get much out of this one, right? But one of the things I enjoy immensely is if you get to know an opening really well, you can learn other variations. So I demonstrated that the other day playing the French, that I always played the winner variation against knight to c3. But the last two 30 plus 30 games, I actually played knight to f6, which is a different variation than I almost ever have played. I've played it, very rarely. And that's the nicety. I know the French. I love the French. I still like the setup. And I can go with different variations anytime I want. So while people might go, oh, he plays the French, the beauty is you can play different variations within that. All right, so you don't have to stick to just one. All right? Yeah, that's probably going to help you. Don't play thinker or any other really strong players if you don't want to lose any rating points. Or just get really good. Anyway, so pawn to king knight 3, knight to king bishop 3. Let's get this game going right. Bishop to knight 2, this knight 2. Again, I told you that was a problem, and yeah, I was right. And that's why he didn't do it. I should have looked harder. Bishop to queen 3. Again, eventually trying to get this pawn push in, but also just getting ready to castle. Bishop to queen 3, pawn to queen 4. And we get my stone wall we talked about. We get the knight to bishop 3. We get the knight to king 5. All of this is correct. Knight to king 2. Okay. By the way, this juicy spot is no longer a juicy spot, what we were talking about. So all that analysis was wasted. Sorry, guys. My bad. So knight to king 2. We get bishop to king 3. And there we go, blocking in. And my student Murph would tell me, wait, he's Murphing his pawn. Because I always tell this, Murph would do this all the time. Murph would move a bishop and block in his queen pawn or his king pawn every game. Every game. And the problem is it would just stay there. And the other bishop wouldn't get developed. He wouldn't castle. He would never attack the center. So let's see if this bishop stays there. I don't think it's going to. A chess gun license? Oh, okay. Oh, bullets, gun. Oh, come on. Let's get. Oh boy. You know, they say they want you to stop talking about sports like football and stuff as a war, because war is where people actually die, and it's not a game. It's not a football game. It's not a soccer game. It's not a chess game, right? It's not a war. This is not a war. It might have some of the same things you can learn or use it to teach or learn from war, but no, it's not a war. By the way, I have a book I want to write. I'm dying to write. Thinker, teacher, you ever want to write a book? I hate doing things on my own. I'm a team person. I like doing things with other people. And I've started a book. I started the book over 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago. So I taught a class in the Air Force on war, on the theory, the principles of war, which was a book by, what's his first name? Von Clausewitz. I forget his first name. It'll come to me later probably. But anyway, I taught the class on that, and I thought, you know what? We talk a lot of times about using chess to learn, analogies from chess for war, right? Like if you attack on the flank, the counterattack should be in the center. If you attack in the center, you might want to attack on a wing. If you, opening lines, having more space, dominating, being, all these things. But I thought, how about flipping it the other way? How about using actual things that have been taught about war, about how to fight a war, about military strategies that have been written about? How about using those principles for chess? Anyway, so I started writing the book. I got more to do. I will get it done eventually. That's my plan. Hey, thank you, Termix Gaming, for the follow. By the way, I also don't want to forget Reward NDKA. Thank you for the follow. That was 2 hours ago before I was streaming. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can make it to the stream. But Termix Gaming, thank you for the follow. We like follows. especially if you are following because you want to come back and check us out. Notice that we don't have goals up for followers. That's a whole nother story. I'll talk about metrics some other day. Anyway, let's get back to the game. Bishop to king 3, pawn to bishop 3. Just making himself a little fortress. You probably know people that play this way. He could have went here. You probably could have just countered. But anyway, you probably know people that say, nope, I'm just going to make a nice little fortress and protect myself and not get scared. Pawn to queen rook 3. And for a miniature, you think we don't have time for a lot of these moves. Okay. We're just trying to play a little prophylactically. Pawn to king rook 3. Same deal, I guess. I don't know what that move is about. There's no, it's no real threat that the bishop's going to be coming here. But anyway, pawn to king rook 3, making sure I get these right. Knight to queen 2, definitely common move in the birds. Knight to queen 2, and repositioning the knight again. And I think he just really wants to try to get rid of this. And this allows him to push on the knight. This does allow him to push on the knight. Pawn to bishop 4. Says, let's go for it. Pawn to queen knight 3. Pawn to queen knight 4. We have our pawn storm, ladies and gentlemen. And we have no place the king to go hide. I mean, the king has no safety. No safety. The king is behind this pawn. He's sitting there forever. He's going to have to. Pawn to bishop 3 says, get out, get out, get out. Anybody see it? Where does that knight go? Where does that knight go, guys? Thinker Teacher probably knows. In fact, I think Thinker Teacher might have this game memorized. Yes, that's another good book. I love the old books. I love the old books. One of my favorites is Nimzovich's Praxis in My System. But yes, Chess Move by Move is very good. Love the old books. Capablanca's books. I love the old books. Love the old books. So you think knight to f3? Okay. No. Knight to c6? Oh no, dumb. Ignore you? Okay. And Thinker Teacher says, this would be a good idea if it wasn't protected. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So Samuel Reshevsky. This is a game by Samuel Reshevsky, one of the strongest players in the United States back in the time of Bobby Fischer. This game was, but he was old by the time Bobby Fischer came along, because this was 1920. So I think Sammy was actually, Sammy was 8 years old. Okay, guys, let me see if I can say that again. Sammy Reshevsky at the time of this game was 8 years old. Okay, Sammy Reshevsky was 8 years old playing a simultaneous, and this is what he played. Yes, wow, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Thinker Teacher, it was over 100. No, not 100. Yes, 100? No. 100? It's over 100 years ago now? Wow. That's scary. That's scary. Because Samuel Reshevsky was playing when I was young. Wow. Oh, man. Anyway, yes. So the answer is knight takes pawn ratchet. So not dumb. Brilliant. You are brilliant. You are brilliant, my friend. You said you were dumb. Bad move. It's not dumb. Keep looking because it was brilliant. What do you want next, guys? That was a brilliant move. Oh, yeah, sometimes you get a by playing TK too many games. You could be brilliant by accident. Yes, Thinker Teacher says, and crush with the bishop. And that's how he talks. That's bishop. He's just not spelling it phonetically. That's the way Thinker. I should do an imitation of Thinker Teacher someday. But anyway, we have pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn back. But what do you do on what would you do on knight to king 2? right? What do you do on knight to king 2? Well, on knight to king 2, you can still do pawn takes pawn, and you get the knight under attack while the rook is under attack. So it looks like you sacrificed a knight, but this is one of those sacrifices when the sacrifice doesn't remain, right? You get the piece back sooner or later. This one is going to be the later version. But pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Not too many more moves. It is a miniature, my friends. Bishop takes pawn. And now the house of cards is about to be in big trouble. So we need to protect the knight. We have this way. We don't want to move the knight because we lose the rook. And in fact, there's no place to move the knight and protect the rook as we move it. So we're going to lose a rook. So we have this or this, right? I guess you also have this or this. So you have a few. You could do this. You could do this, or you could do this. Nope, queen to c2 did not come. Bishop to knight 2 came. Oh, yes. You mean, do you mean, what was your question? Queen to c2. Yes. Yes, you are absolutely correct, Ratchet. Sorry. No, not rook to c1. No. Queen to c2, and then maybe rook to c1, right? But no, look, we have these beautiful white diagonals. Why? Because of these moves. We have a weak white complex. This is taking advantage of the weak white squares, and this poor bishop isn't able to fight for him. That's just a lot of weak white squares, guys. So we get the queen here. One, we're attacking this twice, so we're threatening to win back the piece. And we also have this dual attack. So we get a double attack, and double attacks is one of our basic tactical principles that we try to look for. So we have the double attack going on. Game is not much more to go, guys. Rook to queen, bishop 1. Queen to knight 6, check. And yeah. So for saving the knight, he loses the game, right? 8-year-old playing a simultaneous. My goodness. All right, guys, I said we could do the last two. 892. We have only 2 games left. I'm only looking at the wins with white. There are 6 miniatures, to be fair, where white loses playing this opening. But again, if you're learning an opening and you want to look at some master games and look at some miniatures, do you really want to look at the ones they lost first? No, you can look at the ones they lost later when you really get learning a lot more, right? So again, Bird, the person the opening was named after, against Ryman back in 1883. And one of the things we talked about Think or Teacher, which we thought was really kind of neat, was how many times H4 was played. 2 out of 3 of the miniatures, I think it might have been 4, or 3 out of 4 of the miniatures already included a H4 push. Believe it or not. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, Samuel Reshevsky was a prodigy chess player. Yep. Pawn to king, bishop 4, pawn to queen 4. Like I said, his timing was just bad because then came along Bobby Fischer and stole all of his possible thunder. So that game, this last game, Reshevsky is not a good example for me, from my way of playing the opening, right? It doesn't fit with the way I play the opening. So I probably would not see that getting into that situation too often. All right, knight to king, bishop 3. This is a very common. Oh wow! Now this is like almost exactly how I play. This is exactly how I would play this line of the opening so far. Bishop to knight 5, queen to knight 3. Now I usually do this because I'm going to take eventually, but I like to pause. But no, and so again, how can I learn? How is this useful? In this game, Bird played pawn to bishop 4, not pawn to rook 4, or A versus C. He played C4, guys. I would have played A4. So gives me pause to say, Because I definitely, either I've been in this situation, I bet I can find a game that I've been in this exact same situation. I bet I'll find a game where I've been in this exact same situation. Exact same situation. And I never played that, ever. I've played that. I've played that. And then came here after trading. I've never, ever played this. So, again, I can look this game over. I can use the computer if I like and get a feel for what the computer says. But this is worth it, if nothing else, to get an idea of what the guy that became famous. The opening was named after him because he played it so much. How he played it. All right. So we have pawn takes pawn. Bishop does take pawn. I was thinking maybe he's going to do knight to protect the bishop first because he can always take it later. But no, he just takes the pawn and lines up his bishop here. I guess he's happy. Again, nowadays, I think we'd see this to try to trade off the bishop right away. I think we would see that kind of move. Don't know if it works, but that's what I would anticipate seeing. Anyway, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, pawn to king 3. Okay. Knight to bishop 3. Knight to bishop 3. We're finally getting some regular old development going on. Castle. And look at that alignment. Always worried about alignment. One of my students said, how do you spot alignment against you? You look for it. You got to look for it. You got to always be looking for it. So anyway, bishop, knight to bishop to castle. Pawn to queen, rook 3. Guess he doesn't want the bishop or the knight coming here. But, maybe just not the bishop. I don't know. Pawn to queen, rook 3. Pawn to queen, knight 3. And normally I'd say this is bad because then the bishop doesn't have a place to go. But obviously, not obvious, but this is also the way the birds is played to get this bishop onto a nice diagonal. So, good. Yeah, this c pawn is kind of stuck. Yes. Yes. Pawn to queen, knight 3. And then we get queen to bishop 2. Says, okay, let me get out of the way. And maybe we could push this bishop and get a pawn roll going here. And we get bishop to knight 2. He says, go ahead, do your worst. And that is what comes. And you notice he has neglected castling. And our principle of the week, this week, by the way, guys, is develop, develop, develop. And he's not. He's pushing pawns. Bishop to king 2, all the way back. I thought, again, that he might be eyeing this kind of move because, right, we saw that in the last game. And, this would be a nice square for the future. But no, this one goes all the way back to bishop to king 2. We get bishop to knight 2. No Russian chasing away the knight to a square. Don't really know. Oh, well, he probably would have went there. Probably would have went there. Okay. But, I mean, it's on the edge of the board, right? I might have just pushed here to get me, personally. I'd probably do it just to push that knight to the edge of the board. Then probably develop my bishop so that he can't ruin my pawns. But anyway, that's me. That's my reflex. I'm not going into deep analysis to find out why I shouldn't have done that. All right, this game is a miniature, but it's actually 23 moves, guys. So we have a little bit of ways to go. All right, queen to king 1. Rook to queen 1. Not castling, which I don't blame him because he's like disheveled over there. Rook to bishop 1. What do we talk about also, guys? We've talked about this more than once. What do you do in the middle game? Well, one, we make a plan. But if you're like, making plans is hard, I'm not ready to make a plan, I'm not sure if I should make a plan, better your pieces. So, where do rooks belong? Semi-open and open files. There is only one semi-open file for white. He's put his rook there. There's only one semi-open file for black. He's put his rook there. So, looking good. The bad part is we still haven't developed. We have to move the bishop. We have to castle. Queen should get off the back rank, but he has moved. But we want him off the back rank so the rooks can talk to be developed, fully developed. But still, black is behind. Hey, we'll see you later, Thinker Teachers. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for working with TK. And thank you for doing that collab the other day. That was really a lot of fun. And we still have to do a collab, mi amigo. We still have to do a collab. And maybe we should do it on, like, books. We should pick a book and both of us look at the book. And we could talk through a book and work through a book together. I still have my principles that I like to do also. So Friday and Saturdays are good days, or are you just saying something else? Oh, okay. Okay. What, do you have a collab coming up on Friday or Saturday? Or Saturday? Well, if it's during the same time I'm streaming, I'm not gonna advertise. I'm kidding. Sounds good, thinker teacher. All right, we'll see you later. We'll see you later. All right, rook to queen 1 for white, for black. Rook to bishop 1, right? Here we go. Bishop to queen 3. Finally getting the bishop off the back rank. I think maybe here would have been safer, not blocking in the rook, but I think he still wants to push. Why not? Only have 2. He has 1, 2, and now the x-ray makes 3. So that is, again, normal. Black wanting to push and get this pawn, get rid of this pawn, and start making a lot of trouble for white with this pawn gone. Usually it doesn't work out well for white if that pawn gets taken. So totally understand this move. Queen to knight 3. This is a move I make all the time. It protects this and attacks this file. So I expect to see castle, but we don't get castle. The king decides to stay in the center. We see that a lot of times nowadays too. If we're going to stay in the center though, he could have went here, right, to protect. He could have went here with his knight and not moved this rook. But moving the rook is fine too, I would imagine. You know, we're going to look at maybe pawn pushes. Maybe pawn pushes, okay. But anyway, rook to king knight 1, and we get, whoa. Okay. All right, guys, see if you can see. Oops, no, that is not what happened. Tell me what you guys think the move for white is now. Let's see if we can find the move for white. Looking for a move for white. This game was played by Bird himself, the person the opening was named after. Ratchet says knight takes b5. He's just looking for funky moves. Not necessarily good, just funky, as long as it's funky. Which is looking for funky moves, Ratchet? All right. That's correct. Believe it or not, that's correct. Pawn takes knight, bishop takes knight. So far, we have 2 pawns for our knight. We do have a passed rook pawn, but yeah, okay, it's not even protected. Well, it looks like it works. How so? Well, how does it work? What comes next? How did that work? How did that work? It's pinned, which means it can't hit these squares, but okay. Maybe we're going to push here. Maybe, let's see. Bishop takes knight. Rook to queen, rook 1. Says I'll go hit the pawn. And we get, anybody? Anybody? I have something messed up, guys. Hold on a sec. So I have knight takes pawn. Pawn takes knight. That's correct. Bishop takes knight. Oh, my bad. My bad. That is not what happens. Boop, 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 boop. This is what happens. But this bishop takes this knight. Why? He can't take. Bada bing. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Can't take. Oh my goodness. Can't take. Bishop takes knight. Sorry, took the wrong knight. Bishop takes knight, or did it the wrong way. Rook to queen, rook 1. Says at least I'll try to attack a pawn. Because he just gave back the piece, right? So we have 3 minor, 3 minor. We have 6 pawns versus 7 pawns. So white is up 1 pawn. That's all. Okay, he took the knight, but remember he gave up a piece for pawns. So, but this pawn is hanging. So it looks like white is looking pretty nice. So bishop takes pawn on knight 5. That is what we expect. King to bishop 1. Says, aha, now I can take you. Bishop to king 5. Says, okay. And by the way, he also stepped out of the pin. also stepped out of the pin. Yes, yes, yes. No, takes on b5. You're right. You had it right. Bishop to king 5. Rook takes pawn. Says, give me the free pawn. And white doesn't care, of course. Rook takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. Oh, how pretty. How pretty can you get? How pretty can you get? And the knight can't even take here, as if to say, then I could take here. Because if the knight takes, you lose that. So now white just snarfed both of those pawns. And so white now has 6 pawns versus 4. He's up 2 pawns, guys. And pinned. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Rook takes pawn. Pawn to bishop 3. Trying to get the pieces out of his face. Should have castled a long time ago. Bishop takes knight. We don't save this bishop. We're going to keep this pin going. And we're going to take this knight first. All right, bishop takes knight. Pawn takes bishop. And the question was, if bishop to king, knight 2, if bishop on knight 2 takes bishop, if this bishop takes this bishop, we have knight to queen 4. Oh my goodness. We have knight to queen 4 threatens both. Knight takes pawn check. And rook takes bishop. Gotta love double attacks, guys. Gotta love double attacks. Gotta love double attacks. Knight takes bishop again? Where at? We'll go back. Knight takes bishop may actually be okay. Well, let's take a look. We'll go back. But right now, we're still here where it's pawn takes bishop. All right. Pawn takes pawn. Okay, he's giving this away. Why? I'm guessing because we have a discovered attack coming. I mean, we have a discovered check, but wowzers. He's giving this away. I mean, he's going to be able to run here, won't? But can he survive? He can't even run. I don't know. Oh my goodness, guys. Let's see. Let's see. Pawn takes pawn. Bishop takes rook. Knight to queen 4 check. He does decide to go this way, not this way. I thought he might go this way because then the rook would come here. Wouldn't that be mate? No. Excuse me. He goes here. Rook could go here. King could go here. But then you get to win the queen. But you win the queen. Is that good enough? Get a check here. Step up. You can get a check here. You can move over. I don't know. I'm thinking that would have worked too. Now you got me. I'm just curious. Check. He only has one legal move. Check. He only has one legal move. And yes, you'd get the queen, but is that enough? Is that enough? Look, he's also got a lot of threats. Check. Check. Can't we just bring the rook back? I'd say we bring the rook back. I say we just bring the rook back, and I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Okay, all of that is nice, but he's a much smarter player than us, than me. He decided to go this way for a reason. So he does knight to queen 4 check, king to king 2, still only legal move. Still only legal move. Queen to knight 5. Oh, well, yeah. Queen to g4, g5. I know you meant g5. Yeah, that's better because it's mate. Of course, mate is better. So me, I would have played it here, blocking my queen from the mating square and missing the opportunity for mate. I think this would have been mate also, right? I think this would have been check. He would have only had one legal move, and this should still be mate. Yeah, that's still mate. But yeah, I would have put it to one square to stop the mate. Yeah, man. Okay, rook takes c5. So instead of rook takes c5, okay, what would you like here? What would you like here instead of rook takes c5? Okay, rook takes c5 was good. You said go back to rook takes c5. Then what? He played here. So back here, you want knight takes bishop. Okay, so instead of f6, you're thinking knight takes bishop. Is that what you're looking at? Rook takes queen. Knight takes knight. Check. So we got to do something. So let's say we take this way. Bishop takes rook. Okay. And? Or are you thinking you're good here? Thinking you might be dead here. I'm not sure. Let's go through a possible line. Oh yeah, I'd guess it's not completely over, as in the fact that you still have a little bit of life. Right? Yeah, you have a little bit of life. I'll grant you that. Don't know where you're going to go to enjoy that life. Yeah, not sure where you're going to go. But yeah, I mean, that was one way possible to survive. For a while. Yeah, I agree you're worse. And yeah, you're probably just still going to lose it. But... And that's only... I mean, you would only do that if you knew the rest was like not going to happen, right? Like you were going to definitely lose the rest of them, like, or the rest that came. Because you would be like, no way, I'm not going to give up all of that. All right, our last game, guys. I told you we're going to do the 6 games. Last game. And I think your teacher would have liked this, I believe. I think this is one of his favorites. If not him, then it was Bizabra. But it's our man, Tarash. Believe it or not, Tarash even played the Birds. Back in 1915, not 50 anything. Okay, let's check it out. In Munich, Germany. Okay, so you guys should buy this book. Or at least you should get it at the library. It says, disdaining his usual strategy of crushing his opponent slowly to death, he lets loose with a display of fireworks to win in a burst of glory. That's what the Birds gives you. Bursts of glory. Much better than crushing them quietly and slowly to a death. All right, pawn to queen 4. If he plays this, it'll be another version that I will think I will never ever play. But he doesn't. He plays pawn to king 3. So this may be something I could use. Oh, look at this. So this is where I told you that if he comes here now, hitting on your open knight, rook, you can come here actually, is still an option in this scenario. Or I usually just play the stonewall variation and push here. By the way, you could also throw this one in. The queen is here. I can also get this one in. So actually here, because the knight's already here, I think I would go with this variation. But anyway, pawn to king 3, pawn to queen, bishop 3, pawn to queen, knight 3, bishop to king 2. Oh no, bishop to knight 2. I almost made another mistake. Bishop to knight 2, bishop to bishop 3. Impossible. Okay. Okay, let's see. Pawn, oh, because I did see a bishop to king 2. So let me see. We have knight to king, bishop 3, pawn to queen 4, pawn to king 3, pawn to queen, bishop 4, pawn to queen, knight 3, bishop to king 2. Sorry, guys. It's hard. You got to keep me honest, and you have no way to do that because you don't have the book. Bishop to knight 2. Again, he was looking at, and he still might do it right now. Right? There's nothing wrong. I mean, this would be a normal ploy. Get rid of this bishop. Bishop to bishop 3. That is what happens. Bishop to bishop 3. Knight to king 5. I told you that's normal. Very normal. Bishop takes knight. Don't usually see that. I always take with the pawn, and so did Tarash. I mean, Tarash did it. I got to feel pretty good about my game, man. Knight to king 2. Bishop to queen 3. Here we go, Murphing the pawn, Murph. Murph, if you watch this stream, I will tell you, again, I told you, you're not good. You're not good enough. You're not good enough to make bad moves. You have to be a certain level of skill to make bad moves, and because you have to know when you could do them, when you could get away with them, how you could do them, and do them for the right reasons. All right, so yes, so you're not good enough to make bad moves yet. You are getting better. Soon you might be, but right now you're not allowed to make that move. All right, queen's knight to bishop 3, and we castle, and we castle, and we get queen to rook 5. Very thematic. Again, very much I play these kind of moves. I try to go here most times and then come here. But yes, very common. And right now it's an obvious attack. Love it. Love it. Knight to knight 3. Can you make those moves? What do you? Oh yeah. I don't know, Ratchet. No, I don't know, Ratchet. You're not my student yet. We have to have your class. We have to have your class. Well, yeah, he's letting them attack him. That's the fun, right? I mean, rook to bishop 3. Knight on 3, bishop 3 to king 2. Brings over another piece. And we get knight to bishop 3. We're going to actually develop a piece. And now look, white is fully developed and black still has 2 pieces on the back rank that don't belong there. So it kind of fits our principle of the week. Why? Because these are older games, guys. And the Masters Classics, they developed their pieces. They knew they developed their pieces faster than their opponents and they could build an attack and destroy them. And look, even with a rook lift in between, still white is fully developed while black is not. All right. I'm sorry to hear that. But, you know, cycles, Ratchet. You'll be proud of your games next week. You'll be bragging about them. Oh, yeah. Did you go play real chess games at the club? Did you? I want to hear about it. Maybe we'll get you on stream and you could talk to it. Well, actually, you stream. You could just talk about it on your stream. Yes, Morphe 101. Totally agree. All right, so we have the knight to bishop 3 for white. We have pawn to queen rook 3. Keeping the knight out, I don't know what that move is. It's like I'm not noticing what's going on. I don't even know what this move is, to be honest with you. Oh, well, that makes sense. It wasn't the move. Because I was like, I don't know why. I don't know why Tarash would make that move, right? And he didn't. I'm looking at the wrong line. Queen's rook to king bishop 1. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. Pawn to knight 4. We're going to, you know, if you're starting an attack on the wing, the answer is not attack the other wing. The answer is attack in the center. This is important and worth discussing. The correct reply to a wing attack, a flank or wing attack, is attack in the center, not all the way across the board on the other flank where we don't care. There's no king here, right? Sudakus would tell us, hey, you didn't castle over here, what are you doing? So this slow attack on the queen side, Tarash doesn't care. Tarash has his pieces lining up, and maybe this bishop later. Yeah, Tarash doesn't care. So let's see, I lost the game because I sacked a queen for no reason. Botez Gambit or an actual sack? Is it one of those where you drop your queen and go, oh, I sacked it? You know, it's just a positional sacrifice, or was it truly a sacrifice? And then, like, you realize it was a bad sacrifice. Okay, you sacked it for comp. You just said for no reason, so not a good enough reason. And then you won the rest of your games? How many games did you play? So were some members missing, or are you the strongest player in the club already? A freshman comes in and is the strongest player. All right, so we have queen to king, bishop 1, pawn to knight 4, okay. Knight to queen 1, freeing the bishop, even though the pawn is in the way for the moment. Freeing the bishop, and maybe bringing it. I don't think it's to bring the knight over. Knight to queen 1, beginning of an interesting tour which ends in mate, guys. So that knight is going to do something other than just get out of the way. Okay, bishop to knight 2. Let's go through it a little bit faster. Knight to bishop 2. Pawn to bishop 5. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. Pawn to bishop 5. And he says, take my bishop. Have my bishop. You can have my bishop. Knight to knight 4 instead. And black decides, yeah, no, I'm not taking that. I think we would have this with check, threatening mate. Pawn would have to take. Pawn would take back. The rooks are holding the pawns. And the next move is the queen comes here. And you have pretty much a forced mate. Because anything you do to get out of it, which is going to lop off. So, couldn't allow this move. All right. So instead, we get, boom, 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 boom. Got to find the right moves, guys. Knight to knight 4. We have bishop, pawn to bishop 4. And then yes, ratchet. Yes, we want knight to f6, but we have to wait. Oh, I know they're not rated games. You don't play rated games, at least not in America, unless it's a tournament or a sanctioned match. So you're playing games against over the board. I mean, you're still playing. And you're the strongest. Good. Good. Now try to be a little humble while you're there being the strongest. Not a lot humble. You got to let them know you're the best. Seriously. They need to know you're the best player. And so that they can work to get as good as you so you can have a stronger club. But yeah. Good. Anyway, we take en passant. Pawn takes pawn en passant. And he still says, I can't take, my game's over if I take. So he plays knight to bishop 4. Pawn takes knight, pawn. Knight takes pawn. And then queen takes pawn, check. Here we go, guys. It's time to sack the farm. You guys got to love it, don't you? Come on. You know you love it. You know you love it. You know you love it. Is this one that you know, how long would it take you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ratchet. It is fun letting you do it. I mean, I'm sorry. So, what should white do here? What does white do here? What does white do here? I'm sorry, man. Forgive me. Hey, I did pretty good on the other ones. Yes, queen takes pawn. Can you see it all? Can you see it all? I must be getting tired. Well, king has to take. That's forced. Now what? Now what? We can take here. We can go here. But as we know, you're looking for checks, captures, and attacks. Good, Ratchet. So then there's still more for you to figure out. I'm sorry about the premature exposing of the answers. So, what do you think here? What's the move here, Ratchet? Ratchet, you are the man. You would have found the queen take. Did you, by the way, did you see the queen takes pawn? I know I went too fast for you to probably even think about it. Just curious if you had seen it, even with me going too fast. But yes, rook to rook 3 check. King goes back, and now what? Yeah, I didn't have time either. I'm sorry, Ratchet. Come on. I missed one. This is the last game. I missed it. Anyway, what's the next move? Is it this move? Come on, what's the next move? Is it taking the free knight? Knight to h6? Correctamundo. King to rook 1. Now what? I think you see it now, right? I see it now. What do you got, Ratchet? Trying to make up for giving away the queen takes pawn, because that was a beauty. Queen takes pawn. Sacking your queen. You sacked your queen today and lost. This is a sack that just like destroys his opponent. By the way, this is why I love slower games. Very good, Ratchet. I love slower games. Why? Because, and by the way, this is double check. Anytime you have double check, the king must move. Must move. Now what? Because, you know, you might be thinking checkmate. So I love slower games. Why? Because you have time to see these brilliancies. If you were playing fast, if you were playing blitz or bullet or any of that garbage, you wouldn't have time to find these beautiful moves most times. And so therefore, what are you doing? You're playing blunder chess. Blitz, to me, bullet especially. Bullet, I absolutely, equivocally, I will argue that bullet is garbage. Bullet is garbage. If you, okay, rook to h8. Rook to h8, but aren't you worried about knight takes? Aren't you worried about knight takes? Bullet is garbage. Very good, Ratchet. Checkmate. Checkmate. So he sacks the queen and then he sacks the rook. Checkmate. Beautiful ending. Beautiful ending. And by the way, the whole time the bishop was in pre. Sack the queen, sack the rook, bishop in pre the whole time. Bam! I love it. I love it. So, bullet, you're not going to find these. Could Carlson find it? Could Bobby Fischer find it in bullet? Maybe. I'd even say no, he wouldn't find it. He might recognize the pattern, but that's a pattern I'm pretty sure I've never seen in any of the puzzles, right? Talk about making puzzles, guys. So back here, you could make a puzzle. Actually, and I love long puzzles, right? So you can make a long puzzle right here. What's the white to move? White to move right here. This would be a great puzzle, would it not? This would be a great puzzle. This would be a great puzzle because white to move. Are you going to come up with this move? And then if you come up with that move and black does this, you probably see this, but now what do you do next? Do you see that? And if you see this, what do you do next? Do you actually see the queen sack? This would be a beautiful puzzle. Now, if we were going to make it into a puzzle, to be fair, we'd have to now check the computer because there might be some ridiculous line that the computer would survive. You know, the computer might be able to take and then somehow survive, right? Because it's the computer. So we'd have to double check with the computer and make sure this is a loss. So basically what we could do is set up the board and play this game at this point against the computer. Right? You could play this against the computer. So let's see how that works just for quick fun. I believe that was my last game, yeah, of the birds from the book. So let's just say we take this and we go to share, I believe, and we want to take the, I didn't want to do the whole PGN, I just want to take the FEN. Where's the FEN? Here it is. Okay, we'll take the FEN, we'll open up a new board. Let's go, oh, that reminds me, I did want to do a shout out, not exactly a shout out, but I want to do a Sudokus. It sounds like the numbers thing you do, Sudoku, right? Sudoku sounds like Sudoku. Anyway, what am I doing? Lead chess. Okay, so in lead chess, we want to go to an analysis board. And we want to throw in this FEN. And we want to play against the computer. Wait. Oh, look at this. Look at look at the score for white. Oh, yeah, you guys can see it. That's funny. All right, somewhere in here, I thought I have. Oh, yeah, continue from here. Play with the computer. From this position, play with the computer. Unlimited time control. I want white. Yeah, I want white. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if we can win the game against the computer. So he pushes here, right? Okay, so I told you the computer's going to find something, right? And it's not showing me any score, which I don't know how you guys ever see scores during your games. So guys, together, let's figure out how Tarash would have finished this game off if this is the game he got with the computer. If the computer had done this instead, or if his opponent had done this instead. I'm still liking the check, right? But now he could just run away, because now we don't have the threat. Wow. But if he runs away, right? If we go check, he runs away. Can't we just? No, we can't just take the pawn, because he could take back, and our knight's in the way. Knight to f6 does look juicy, guys. Come on, we got to figure out how to win this game. We're playing the computer. This is what the computer would have done instead of what Tarash's opponent did. Right, a move that we didn't look at, and so this is the interesting thing, right? Why we got to see if it makes a good puzzle. Now, granted, back here when we looked at the score in the other right here, the score was ridiculous, right? The score at this point is White's ahead 12. It's ahead at 12 points. 12 points. Ahead 12 points. 12 points, guys. Let me see. Somebody's asking to get into. I don't see them there. Somebody's asking to get into a team. I never like making people wait. Okay, Lion King. I told him he tried to get into my class. I told him he can't be in the class unless he's a homeschool student. I told him, why don't you join the? You could join the 4 live stream or the Niles District Library Chess Club team. And so he joined one of those. Okay. What do we do here? So we could just take, but then the knight could even take. It doesn't even have to take with the pawn. We could take this pawn with check. We could take this pawn with check. He takes back. We take. He takes our bishop. We can slide over. And how does he stop us from mating again, right? And he can push this pawn. Oh, you getting sleepy? Oh, Knight to f6 looks juicy. Knight if king to h8, the knight takes h6. Yeah, it doesn't move that way. You did great. You did great. So this is still seems like a playable move. He can't take though. We feel confident he shouldn't take, even though he can slide over here. But then that's pinned. I think he's in trouble. So I think if we say check, let's just say if we say check here, the king moves here. How do we proceed at that point? How do we proceed? Maybe we just pound the rook over here, because then we're threatening to take, right? If he takes, we take. King has to come up. The king just comes up, and our attack is done. Wow, guys. But we were up 20. We're up clean 20. So we got to have a win here. We have to have a win here. Knight takes pawn, right? I think I was looking at if knight takes pawn, can't just pawn take? Yeah, this one, I don't know how we follow up when the king just runs away. I'm lost on what we do when the king runs away. I haven't heard any brilliancies out of anybody if the king just runs away. What do we do if the king just runs away? It looks great, but what do you do after here if the king runs away? Now here, the king just can't run away. Well, he can. He's in check, but he's not going to run here because he'd give us a discover check. So he has to take. So I like that because it's forcing. He has, right? I believe he has to take. We take back with the queen, and then what? Then what? I guess this doesn't stop the mate threats here. So, I mean, we can still go here, but the king can run right away. King can try running right away. Yeah, I know, isn't it? All right, so let's try. You want to try this one first? I don't think it works. I like knight takes h6 better also. Let's try knight takes h6 first. Okay. Takes now. I'm thinking we take with the queen. No? I think we take with the queen. Anybody? 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 I don't think we double up yet. I think we just take with the queen. Let's take with the queen. I'm anticipating knight here. There we go. Now, we could take with the bishop. Right? Pawn takes back. We slide over and we're threatening mate. Pushing the pawn doesn't stop mate. How does he stop mate? If we take here, he does have that. Yeah, speak of the devil. Oh, man. I mean, can we just take, but then the knight takes back, threatening to win back? No, because then we have check. And we're up, we're not even up a whole piece. We're not even up a whole piece. Oy. Oy vey. Check, knight takes, rook here. Knight can come back, we take. If he takes, we take with the other. Yeah, computer, yeah, and I saw this afterwards. I was like, dag. Computer's always cheating. Out of curiosity, what happens if we take with the... won't let me take back my move. I'm wondering if we had taken with the rook. Because then this move, we could throw the rook in here. That would have been so sweet. So if we take here, he almost has to take with the pawn. And then we could still take with the rook. Right? We can still take with the rook. The queen comes here. We attack the queen. He could get this check in. We could come back and block. And how does he stop mate that time? Yeah, okay. So how do we take back a move? Oh. All right. Let's see what happens if this is the correct move order. Okay, he didn't even, I thought he would have at least taken again, but nope. Now we should be, right? Which is winning. Right? Which is winning. I mean, this should be winning. If I want to take, if I take, he gets a file to play on. I don't think I want to let him take unless I have something dynamic before that. If I just take, I let his rook come over, I slide up because I'm still going to threaten the same mates. Let's try that. Beating the computer at any point is hard. Okay, now we're threatening mate. What has he got? Of course, he can run away. He can run away. So if we say check, he moves here. He's already blocked our checking here. But we could take here. Yeah, I know. Computers are annoying that way. I say we take here. I agree. I say we take there. Oh, and look, he sacks the bishop. I think we've got to have a win. That doesn't work. Yeah, this has got to be a win. This has got to be a win. It's gotta be. How does he protect this pawn? Okay, if we go check. Oh, I can't go there. I can't go here. Mr. Mean Bishop is hanging out in Allentown here. Okay, yeah, that was a wasted move. I don't like that move anymore. I don't like that move anymore. Oh, rook to h6 would have been sweet. Let's go here. Rook to h7. Threatens the pawn. And he does nothing to stop it. So it's still pinned. I mean, that's like mandatory, right? And I'm running out. I've run out of pieces. Unfortunately, I've run out of pieces. That's okay. I have a pawn. I have a pawn. I still have a piece. Okay, I can let him take. I take back. I don't need to take. He could get here, but that doesn't matter. If I take, then he can still get there. So let's march the pawn. Ah, yes, Ratchet. Push the h-pawn. All right, attacking that pawn, which might give him a little bit of play here, but I still get it. So I don't think that works either. Okay. Now he's got to take. I take it. I take it. He takes it. No, he doesn't. Okay, we'll take that way first. Now he takes here, right? He doesn't take there, because now I was just thinking I take. So, you know, this is one of those ones where I'm confused by the computer, because I would have thought he would have just taken there. And that should be game. I don't need the computer anymore for that. Pretty nice. All right, let's go look. If you don't mind, I have a little bit of time, very little. I want to just show you, because I did get a couple of birds in. Let me go back to the night before. I played 2 games late at night. 24 hours ago. That would not have been, I played really bad 24 hours ago. I think it would be 46 hours ago. Yeah, J. Crop. Okay. And I had the bird opening. Let's check out the bird opening here. I'll just share this one with you guys. I probably should put this, and I told you this is the opening I play. And so here, again, the queen could have went here. I could get in the, I could have gotten, I mean here. Now the queen goes here. I end up playing the stone wall. But he didn't, right? Because people don't always do it. And this is blitz, to be fair. Oh, well, it's 5 plus 3. It's blitz. So, again, oh, by the way. Yes, I murphed my bishop. But again, I think I play well enough to play bad moves. I have to have confidence myself. I'm trying to become a national master. If I don't think I'm good enough to play bad moves, I'm not good enough to be a national master. So, as my mom would say, you fake it till you make it. All right, so this is the game. I told you that he comes and attacks my bishop. I would say a year ago, I don't know what I would do. I might let him take it. I don't know what I would have done. Now I say, no, we're not trading my bishop. I like my bishop. Your knight's here a little. That's nice. I like my bishop. I put the knight where it belongs. We know that. We've been in this position many, many, many times. This pawn push is fine. I don't know that it's the right move at this time, because normally I go here first, and that way if I push here, if he attacks here, then I get to go here. But because of his setup, he's not attacking my knight. He can't get this knight move in. So I'm okay, right? He can't get the knight move in. It's just free candy. So I had to think about that at the time, that I don't usually like to do this because it's hard to protect this pawn. And if he could have gotten this knight move in, my only real way to do it is here or here or here, and none of those are comfortable for me. I don't like any of those. But right now I didn't have a worry because he can't get here. So here I was like, okay, now if you take, I take, you pop in here, Aren't I in trouble? Yeah, no, I'm not, because the bishop's holding it. So the knight still can't get here because the bishop and the queen are holding it. Okay, so I'm good to go. That was, I had to make sure I was thinking straight. So does this look a little bit like what we just saw? This looks a little bit like one of those miniatures. I mean, I think it looks like a miniature. And here he goes attacking the pawn. That's normal, but he dropped the free piece. This isn't going to be any fun. I thought this might be good enough to put into those miniatures, but he just gave away a free piece. Yeah, just giving away a free piece takes away the fun of the game. And we had some repositioning, some more pieces. I could have taken the rook with the bishop 10 times over. Never did, because I was looking for mates. And then he sacked the bishop, hoping to get, right? He tried for the, like, you're not watching mate. I still ended up pinning my own pieces. But you're up a whole rook, you could trade off everything, right? All right, so unfortunately, because that would have been a nice one. I think that would have been, that was almost a nice enough one to put into my collection of birds. That was almost. All right, so the next game he rematched me. I had black. He didn't finish that game. And then I lost this game with the Dutch. I lost this game with the birds. This was all last night. I played horrendous last night. Ratchet, you say, you know, sometimes you have bad days. TK, you were lamenting playing badly. I lost, let me see how many games I lost in a row. So I lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. 6 games in a row. 6 games in a row. I got frustrated. I played so bad. And I wanted to play until I won, though. I didn't want to leave on a losing note. I really didn't want to leave on a losing note. So I kept fighting to try to get a game, and I finally got a game. I finally won a game. So, all right, guys, 10 o'clock. Hope you enjoyed looking over some of the games from the 1,000 best short games of chess by Irving Chernev. It's a good book. It's fun when you're doing it to look at your opening repertoire. You could see what some of the masters, how they found some brilliant short game wins. So, something I do recommend that you check out. All right, let's see who we're going to raid tonight. Oh, Marichess is on, but her language. No. Play Lion Chess actually is not in the small stream, the New Streamers Union. He's actually the guy that beat me in the other. I like him though.